the waves started to sweep across all the continents of the world, and they were from young people from everywhere going to everywhere with the gospel of Jesus Christ.
For Lauren Cunningham, that vision first took shape in 1960. 50 years later, those waves of young people have reached the shores of every nation on earth. Nearly 4.5 million people from over 200 countries have been involved in Youth with a Mission. Using evangelism, training, and mercy ministries, YWAMers have fanned out across the globe.
I began to see that God was calling us to break some norms and change the paradigm of missions, although I didn't really know what all that meant, except we were used to do the radical.
Lauren's wife, Darlene, played an integral role in the formation of their work. Together, they focused on developing the potential they saw in others.
We have always recognized that it's going to take everybody to do it, and that God has uniquely made different people. We were called to release young people into their destiny.
Now, Christians didn't think that missionaries were anyone but a Westerner speaking to non-Westerner, often under a shade tree with a pith helmet, and that was the view of a missionary. And that was not what God's view was. We asked God, we said, well, who is a YWAMer, Lord? He says, anyone that I send to you.
Kenny and Maria Jackson were among those released into positions of responsibility. The couple teach and train at YWAM's University of the Nations.
I'm Korean. I'm ordinary, especially a woman. I mean, who am I? And he really, Lauren and Dar modeled for us to encourage me, because you are Korean, you can rise up and go to the ends of the earth. And they're really, that is, I think, hard for Jesus. Jesus will do the same thing because he's not white, right? So he's a Jewish. He's born in such a brown skin, and he really understands that.
And there is room for all, as evidenced by the YWAMers gathered from over 100 nations at the final Jubilee Year celebration in Kona, Hawaii.
At the opening of the ceremony, I saw all the nations there, and I'm like, every day is like the United Nations meeting in my life. I meet someone, oh, I'm from Hawaii, oh, I'm from Samoa, I'm from Australia, I'm from Ghana. It's just, that's my life of every day. I'm just so thankful.
I heeded to the call and the voice of Jesus, knowing that he was willing to use an Indian, ordinary person, to bless the nations to 245 countries, including Antarctica. And that fact clearly shows to the world that God is no respecter of nationality, color, or anyone, that he could use anybody from any nation to pick them up and be a blessing to the nations out there.
Today, more than 20,000 full-time YWAMers are deployed in every sphere of society, taking creative risks when few others will.
You put yourself in a place of risk, but that risk is actually the most certain place you could ever be, because you are walking out in obedience and doing the very things that God has asked you to do. And because of that, your life is full of adventure, full of real stories, not just concepts that you get to hold in your mind, but you actually get to live out and share with other people.
When he asks us to take a risk, you know, and you're saying, God, I can't do this. I can't do it. Well, then, you know, you hear that wonderful voice of the Lord said, oh, I'm so glad you know you can't. Now I can.
As staff and students gather to celebrate the past, another wave of young people have received the torch from YWAM leaders such as John Dawson.
All the nations are sending nations. They all have in their Bible the Great Commission, no matter what language they read it in. And so we need each other desperately. So at this point, YWAM is a majority non-Western mission. It's an incredible thing to see the riches of Jesus revealed through the human creation, blended together in this adventure that we've experienced these last 50 years.
It builds my faith to know that it's really possible to finish the Great Commission in this generation.
We've just been the people that have had this enormous privilege of blowing the bugle. And we have been honored and humbled by what God has done. And he indeed is the wave maker. And it's my desire to see these waves get bigger and go farther and be more powerful.